Built in 1904 for the World's Fair, home to the St. Louis Blues and to indoor soccer and to various championships, and tonight, home to the Ford and Busch U.S. Hot Rod Truck and Tractor Pull Championship Series, featuring the battle of the monster trucks. Hello again, everybody. I'm Ken Brew, and you know my partner, the man pulling at your heart as well as your sled, Mike Galloway. And tonight from St. Louis, Mike, we've got a great lineup, starting with the modified trucks.
6,200-pound modified trucks, some very good trucks, some real top contenders tonight. Track is excellent. It's a short track. I think it's going to equalize the competition out. I don't think you're going to see an advantage with a big motor here tonight because of the track condition and the length of the track. Also, the 7,200-pound modified tractors, the triple engines, the Jet, the Twin Allison, a tremendous lineup, and of course, the monster trucks. 4 monster trucks. We've got a brand new one tonight that we haven't seen before. It should really be an exciting evening of competition.
One of the great things about being in an arena like this is that the fans get to sit so close to the action, and the track kind of makes the competitors all equal. You mentioned the fact the smaller track would bring the larger engines maybe a little bit closer to some of the smaller engines we're going to see tonight.
Well, Ken, it really will, because the length of the track, the big motors work good down at the far end of the track. It's a short track tonight. The sled will be heavy. You'll see that weight box come up the ramp real fast. I think it's going to equalize things out so much that it's really anyone's pull at this time.
Ford and Busch present the U.S. Hot Rod Truck and Tractor Pull Championship Series, featuring the battle of the monster trucks. This telecast is brought to you by Busch Beer, a beer with a taste as smooth as its name. Here in St. Louis, Missouri, and first up tonight, as you can see it in all its red and white glory, is the Avenger with Gary Collins, another one of the big names in hot rod racing.
El Dorado Springs, Missouri, and there's a good shot of Gary strapped down inside this beautiful Ford Mustang body. Supercharged, Keith Black, all aluminum Hemi as he brings it to life. Yeah.
Oh man, that dog wants to fight till sunset.
All the way up on the wheelie bars and right down the middle of the track. What an outstanding job Gary Collins does with the Budweiser Avenger. Of course, Gary very, very strong in the sport. Watch the front end come of it just immediately out of the hole. He uses the brakes on the back of it to guide it. It's resting on the wheelie bars. Gary kind of looking at the rafters here in the building, and right on down the track, full pull with all the room to spare in the world. Gary Collins, a beautiful job, the Budweiser Avenger.
Never had to touch the brakes. All right, we're ready now for modified pulling. We're going to see some great competition here. Four-wheel drive modified trucks. And Mike, these competitors week after week, each trying to get the upper edge on the other guy. I saw a lot of them working before this pull began tonight. And our first hook of the night, number 1 in your program, is Junior McClanahan behind the wheel of Fantasy from Lebanon, Missouri. Here he goes. Well, you can thank brother for that. Junior's brother got him going in this sport 6 years ago, and he had a pretty fair first pull, Mike.
Well, I'd say that sometimes Junior's got to be a little upset at his brother. A very expensive sport, but Junior does a great job. Used car business in Lebanon, Tennessee with Fantasy, a 604 cubic inch Chevrolet motor. Really getting the best of it. Down at the end, he had a good run. He ran on the right-hand side of the track all the way down, staying about 6 to 8 inches off the line.
Mike, look at the dirt kick up. This seems to be a loose track tonight.
I believe it's going to be a good track. I think it's going to go back together well. Junior runs the right-hand side. He's getting good traction. A little bounce in the truck. Maybe tire pressure could be a little off in it. But look at him right on that line, and a very fine pull for Fantasy. That's one they'll write in the record books, and it'll really be tough to beat.
Junior tonight with a pull of 134 feet and 4 inches. So for a first pull and a mark to beat, pretty fair distance. And this is the wild hair, Dan Quello, out of Turlock, California. And as you were telling me, Mike, Quello in Portuguese means rabbit.
Rabbit, and that's he has 2 trucks on hand tonight, the wild hair and the red rabbit.
Okay.
And rabbit. Dan, a very fine puller all the way from the state of California.
Great paint job.
557 KB, Keith Black, fuel-injected Hemi setting under the hood. This truck was runner-up for a national championship not too many years ago. A very fine competitor. He'll run with the best of them.
Dan Quello, the wild hair. There you see Dan, a few last-minute checks. Waits for the green. He's got it. Piece from Turlock, and he's ready to put the pedal to the metal.
He builds truck bodies and trailers.
Is that right?
When he's out in California, Dan Joe trailers.
Is feeling his oats tonight. A full pull, at least that's what it looks like, but we'll wait for the official measurement.
I don't know how close you can get without going all the way, but the front of the pan looks like it has come to rest right on the finish line. So the measurement going to be very, very critical on this one.
Well, a full pull is 160 feet. Dan Coelho and the Wild Hare got awfully close, 158 feet 3 3/4 inches. Mike, here's the sled. Now, again, how does this work?
Operates through a series of gears and transmissions. It's powered off of the rear tires. The further you pull it down the track, the further the big six-pack rolls up the ramp, transferring it from a rolling weight to a dragging weight. Now, speed has nothing to do with it. Whether you go down the track at 30 miles an hour or 5 miles an hour, the box will always end up at the same place at the same time on the track. So it's very even for the first puller as well as the last. Once it has been put into gear at the start of the class, it's not changed until the complete class is finished. What we're looking at is the top shot of the sled, looking right straight on from the upper portion of it. Now, there's a drive shaft running right up the middle of the chain, which goes to a rear end at the front. That drive shaft actually connects to the differential on the rear tires. The turning of the drive shaft turns the rear end on the front of the sled that pulls the chains that brings the box up the ramp, transferring it from a rolling weight to a dragging weight.
All right, now this guy has got the best ride in the house, Mike.
This is Tom Lashman out of Winchester, Illinois, and what he's doing with those two levers is steering the sled back to the starting line by braking either right or left tire.
And this is a replay?
Now this is the sled going down the track. The box is moving over the top. You see Tom is sitting back there for a ride. He's just along for the ride unless something was to happen. Then he has at his disposal brakes to stop the box, brakes to stop the sled, and he can get off and pull the kill switch and shut the motor down on the pulley sled. He's there for safety purposes. You cannot leave without this man on the sled.
May want to sell that man a couple of air shocks because he takes a bump going down. Backing up and getting ready to whale is Tumbleweed. That's Tom Griffin behind the wheel. He's out of Winthrop, Iowa. Been pulling tractors for about 20 years. I said started with tractors back in 1968 and has moved up to trucks. Mikey tells me the biggest difference from when he started to now, the emergence of the big money boys, the guys that come in with a lot of money as opposed to the everyday fellow like him.
Very true. Very proud of the state of Iowa and has a unique fuel tank on the front of it. They have shaped the fuel tank in the state of Iowa.
Looks like the actual fuel goes in up around Cedar Rapids, huh?
Very close. Very close.
Tom Griffin, Winthrop, Iowa.
Well, Tom's
there he is.
Always a tough competitor, no matter what part of the country you're in, and he'll travel several thousands of miles a week.
88 Ford, 528 cubic inch Ford wedge. Waiting for the green flag. He's got it, and he's on the way. Well, Tom went to school. He took the left side of the track. Everybody else had been right side, and it looks like he's had himself one fine pull. Dan Coelho had set the mark, 158 feet, 3 3/4 inches in Wild Hare. Tumbleweed just a little bit shy of that. Tonight, Tom Griffin with a pull of 157 feet and 6 inches. Good enough for second place. And tonight's competition is brought to you in part by Ford Parts and Service, quality parts, quality cars and trucks, and sponsor of the United States Hot Rod Association.
Hi. I've been looking all over for this terrific video cassette.
Out of Norfolk, Nebraska, and Mike, he's going to be a busy son of a gun tonight, isn't he?
He sure is. Of course, probably the second most popular person in Norfolk, Nebraska, of course, Johnny Carson's hometown.
That's right.
But what Gary Saline is going to attempt to do tonight, he'll run this truck. Gary has a pair of them here, and they will have to take the transfer case out of this truck and put it in his other truck. Now, he already has the transfer case out of the Wildfire truck. This transfer case is not like the normal transfer case that you see in a street-driven vehicle. These are down and they're lightweight. They're built especially for truck pulling. It'll take him about 30 minutes. So he's really going to be busy between these two runs. As soon as this truck's done, they're underneath it with wrenches, jerk the transfer case.
Now, wait a minute. He's going to take it out of red hot and put it into his other truck because it broke? He's not doing this for fun, is he?
No, they unable to repair the transfer case in the Wildfire truck. Both the trucks run the same type transfer case. Both of them run the big shotgun Hemi Ford motor, 604 cubic inches. And he will be able to do this. This also means dropping all of the shifting mechanism. You got to take both of the drive lines out of it. A very, very busy young man coming up right after this fall.
88 Ranger, 604 Ford Hemi. He's a farmer, about 800 acres back in Norfolk. Cash grain is what he deals in. Fury Thunder and a whole lot of horsepower is what his main goal is right now. He's got the green flag and he's underway.
Just a picture-perfect dialed-in pull. A beautiful job for Gary Saline in the red-hot truck. He has really been tough.
Get that transfer case out. It's hot. He was just flat out full tilt right from the start.
Watch Gary as he comes down the track. Watch the front end of the truck. You'll notice the front end of the truck comes up a little bit, and when that happens, he's really putting the power down. Getting a good bite right on the end. Watch him blow right by the finish line area. Gary Saline working for everything it's worth. He has set the mark at a full pull.
The mark to beat was 158 feet, 3 3/4 inches. Beat it, red hot, smoked it. Full pull, 160 feet. And now Gary Saline has set the standard for the others to beat.
Well, the body's up. They've latched the body in place, and right now they're pulling the seat out and the floor pan out of the truck very quickly. All of this will have to come out. The transfer case set immediately underneath it. He's put together with something called Zeus fasteners, which turn with a spring on them and latch in place. Gary will quickly pull it all out. The other gentleman there helping him is immediately taking the drive line out between the motor and the transfer case itself. It's busy time in the red-hot pit area.
Gary told me, Mike, that he needs about a half an hour to complete the task. It's going to take him a half an hour to get it out and then get it into his other truck.
Well, I think Gary's going to be able to do it. They're really getting along good with it. Now, you'll notice the already are lifting the seat out of it. Has to clear the side panel. All right, seat comes up. The transfer case is right there below the steering wheel. Right there at the just below the steering wheel. All the drive line, all the safety shielding has to come out of it.
Great shot.
Working very quickly to drop the drive shaft out of it. Just a beautiful job. These guys are underway. We're going to check back with them in just a second.
Okay. And backing up for a pull at it is Gerald Ammon in the Southern Belle. He is from that almost legendary sounding Pocahontas, Illinois. He got himself an 84 Chevy. 641 under the hood. And he has had some success on the circuit this year.
It really has. And this truck was rebuilt in a short period of time. They changed the frame underneath it and changed both the axles, set the tires in quite a bit. Actually built a new truck out of it. Gerald, super tough.
Here he goes. For the Southern Belle.
Again, Brew, we're seeing something here tonight, and not to take anything away from the two pullers because they have both done an outstanding job. But we're seeing a track come around, as the pullers would call it. The traction is getting much better. But here's something we've talked about all evening long. Watch Gerald. When he leaves with that sled, immediately he heads to the left-hand side, turns the tires, and gets over there before the weight box comes up too high. He's into ground that no other puller's been on all night long, and it shows right at the end with a full pull.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Gary Saline now is underneath Wildfire, Mike, and so he's in phase 2 of this job.
That is the transfer case, the longer, elongated area there.
Right, okay, and that'll be attached to the actual frame of the truck.
They'll hook it up. There'll be a set of stands up there that they will bolt to. sliding it up into place. Front drive shaft in line. Uh-oh. Now, here's the thing about it. They had not had that other transfer case out, so they're pulling 2 transfer cases.
So this is the old one?
No, I believe this is still the new one. They've just run into a problem with that.
Okay. We'll check back with Gary Saline. Don't go away. Mike Galloway and I will be right back with more here from St. Louis in just a moment. Saline, and he is sweating because he's fighting a timetable now.
That's his pit man working up on top. Gary's on the bottom side of the truck connecting up everything. The young lady is keeping track, and that white piece of paper in her hand is a list of all the vehicles, how far they pulled and their distances. Also on that list, that will give them an idea of what kind of time situation they're working against to get the truck completed. Now right there, she's showing him where they stand. Red Grogan standing up right now to run. Gary Saline still down the line a little bit, but they're watching very closely as they are working against the clock.
He's got a little bit of a time to go before he has to pull. Now it's Red Grogan from Clinton, Kentucky in an 87.4 and a big, big engine under the hood. And out of the hood, he's got a 704. And this is the little hillbilly. So we'll see if the big engine has any kind of advantage now. This is the biggest engine we've seen so far tonight.
There's a pair of these big Ford motors here tonight. They're all aluminum. They're specially built for pulling. Watch this one work. Red Grogan is super tough. It's a good hook. It is a great hook. He's got a lot of ground speed. He's got ground speed.
Yeah. Oh, man, a full pull, and he's in the pull-off.
Ken Brew, he went out easier than anyone that is hooked to that sled tonight. He went out, he had a lot of ground speed, but Red Grogan knows that's what it takes to put yourself on the map.
160 feet. It's a full pull for Red Grogan and the little hillbilly, and now he joins the list of trucks in the pull-off. So far, we've got 4. Red Hot, Southern Belle, Daddy's Toy, and now Grogan behind the wheel of Little Hillbilly. Well, Mike, he's done it. Gary Saline has successfully taken the transfer case out of Red Hot and into Wildfire, and will now try a pull here with Wildfire. But you have to almost wonder, he's done the full pull with Red Hot. Even if he does the same here with Wildfire, he can't compete both trucks at the end. If he doesn't make a full pull with Wildfire, what does that do to Red Hot? He's got to do it all over again.
He's got to take the transfer case back out of this Wildfire truck, and he'll have to go back into Red Hot. But Ken Brew, when he went out with the Red Hot truck, at that time was the point that the track just came around. The moisture came out of the bottom of the track. It got a lot tighter on top. The traction came around and everything went together. Well, at that time, he was the only person qualified for this pull-off. So chances were very good making the switch that he would be able to qualify another truck and be the only 2 trucks in the pull-off.
All right, we're going to look at early action here. We're going to take a look at exactly what was going on. There you see Saline and some of his mechanics getting that transfer case out of Red Hot and into the other truck. It was a real lot of intense labor there for about a half an hour, but he's done it. He's got Wildfire ready to go. He's got the green flag, and it's at his discretion. A full pull would really help him from a timing standpoint. There you see it. There you see the transfer case.
There's the transfer case, the drive shaft running to the rear axle. Everything on go. Watch him line. I believe he's going to do it. Yeah, got a hook. Yeah, he's got a hook. Yeah, he's got it. Now Gary Saline has to make a decision. Which one of those trucks went out the best? We can't definitely know that we can't run both of them in the pull-off.
Right.
Are we going to run the Wildfire truck in the pull-off and scratch Red Hot? Or we take the transfer case back out of Wildfire, put it back in Red Hot, and scratch the Wildfire truck?
I think the way he dialed in on this particular run, maybe it's the track surface, but it looked like just a better run front to back than he had with Red Hot, as good as that Red Hot truck ran. So he may want to elect to keep it in Wildfire.
He had a lot more ground speed on Wildfire. And of course, I think that could also be associated with the track, the surface changing right so abruptly.
Well, the measurement is kind of academic. It's a full pull, and of all the full pulls we've had, Mike, he seemed to have gone the farthest of all the other vehicles. So maybe it's Wildfire that we'll see in the pull-off. Well, there's Red Hot. It doesn't look so hot right now.
The pieces are laying everywhere. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Gary Saline, down on trackside, he has got a real decision to make.
Yeah, he has robbed Peter to pay Paul, but both have won, and the crowd acknowledging Gary Saline.
Hey, Gary.
Good shot. Good shot. Let's listen in now.
How come? You don't have
have time to fix it, switch it around again. We can't change it fast enough to get it back in there and then switch it back and forth. So we got to stick with the old reliable.
Well, that's the answer then. They're going to stick with Wildfire in the pull-off. So I mean, it almost probably was a decision that was made the minute it was put in Wildfire. Look, if it works, we'll stick with it.
Well, Gary Saline said we're going to stay with old reliable, and that Wildfire truck has carried him to more victories than you can count.
Tonight's action is brought to you in part by Rizlone, the total oil additive for pull. And so they went into kind of like an elimination series, a pull-off.
Well, 9 trucks went into the pull-off, and that's when the track changed. It was good. It went to a great track, and from there, the trucks hooked up well. 9 of them qualified.
And, of course, the guy that did it all was Gary Saline, who had the real big problem. Remember, we told you that his transfer case in one truck broke, had to get it into Wildfire. Wildfire qualified for the full pull, and Gary really let it rip.
Went with old reliable. The new truck, of course, the red hot truck, the one that they pulled the transfer case out of, put it back into the old reliable truck, the truck that has taken him to several championships over the years, and it was time to go for the gold.
Old Reliable is the 79 Ford, the 604 Hemi engine. And Gary, we showed you the pictures of his crew working feverishly in the pit to get this truck ready for the full pull. And once he got it dialed in, Mike, there was no stopping him. I think the only thing that was going to stop him were the stands at the end of this track. It was just a superb pull for Gary.
Well, Gary, when he went to the sled, knew that he had a real tough mark to beat. He knew that he was going to have to go past the full pull mark. He's going to have to put some extension on the end of the track. He really knew the truck had to hook and hook right. I think driving on this truck was probably the key to the whole thing. You know, the driving was excellent, but the truck hooked very, very well.
Watch him come down the lane now. Watch him come right down the track, and he owned this sled tonight. He owned it completely. Hear him really getting everything ready to go, and when that green flag drops, he was ready.
Well, he's got the slack out of the chain. Everything's on go. The motor's warm. Gary's going to turn the tires loose, and when he does, he knows one thing. You've got to go for everything you got. This is the last shot. There's not any overs on this one.
Here comes Wildfire.
He rolled it for quite a ways before he nailed the throttle, and I think that was a good move. And then he went to the left-hand side of the track and put the distance on him.
Think about what Gary Saline has done tonight. 2 trucks, 2 full pulls. He takes the transfer case out of one, puts it in another, and on the pull-off has not only a full pull, but a final tote of 172 feet, 5.5 inches to win the overall competition tonight in these modified trucks. Watch the measurement coming up here. And Gary Saline knew exactly when he came out of the cab of that truck, he knew exactly that he had done exactly what he wanted to do. That was the mark to beat. 164 feet, 8.25 inches. The Wildfire just shatters it. 172 feet, 5.5 inches. A full pull is 160. And because so many trucks were equaling that, they actually measured from 160 and beyond. And Saline, the champion tonight, there's Gary. Had to do a ton of work to get there, but it paid off.
Gerald Amon coming up and congratulating, shaking his hand. True sportsmanship in the world of pulling.
Arena, we're ready for the modified tractor class, 7,200-pound tractors. We've got 9 of them tonight, and some fine-looking machinery. Just some awesome-looking machinery.
Well, we're sitting on the line with an awesome piece of equipment. 3, 5, 7, 57.
Oh, man! That'll bake your chicken. That is a brand. The name of that isn't new tractor. It is literally a new tractor for this man.
Only the second or first weekend that they have had this tractor out, and they must have ran 100-mile-an-hour tire speed. And Ken Brew, it was all right on the starting line. Larry Hicks nails the throttle. Front end comes up. He's hooked good. Look at the tires are growing. Look how fast they're going. But look at the weight box. The weight box all the way to the top. All the way to the top. And I'm telling you, they are putting the weight on these machines in a hurry tonight.
Well, for Mike Piper and his new tractor, a first pull of 134 feet, 5.75 inches. That's the mark to set. Or we'll see if they're going to pay it to the Piper before tonight is over. Well, backing up and ready to go is the farmer from Fort Recovery, Ohio. This is Milt Bergman in new and improved rambunctious.
All homemade, and he's got 2 throttles in his hand. Of course, those connect to the 2 Allison aircraft engines, 1,710 cubic inches apiece. The front motor is turbocharged and fuel injected. The back motor is fuel injected with a supercharger on it, the stock supercharger. Milt Bergman, 2 completely different type engines of the same make, but the setups on the induction systems are completely different on them. Watch him work.
And a flame out to boot.
Boy, Ken Brew, that sled is so heavy. I mean to tell you, they are topping the box on these pullers about the 100-foot mark.
So a little bit more of a weight, a little bit more of a pull for the tractors than we saw on the modified.
But what they're going to have to do, just as Milt Bergman has done, and the tractor before him, and that is to nail the throttle right at the starting line. Try to get all the ground speed you possibly can before the box gets there.
And from the ground up, new and improved rambunctious, Milt Bergman behind the wheel, 117 feet and 11 inches. Not near enough to take the lead. And rolling on out, our third competitor of the night, this is Troy Washkow. He's out of Iowa Falls, Iowa. He has an Allison, just like new and improved rambunctious, but this is only one Allison. This is going to be a tough haul for this kid.
Truly, very true. All the weight off the front of it. They've running the front of the tractor called naked. No weight hung on the front.
Now, why would they do that?
They're putting all the weight on the back, trying to get as much traction as possible. They're going to try to lift the front end a little bit out of the starting line area and maybe just pick it up and run with it.
So to compensate a little bit for only having the one engine?
They're compensating for that, and they're also taking into account that the sled's heavy. The box is going to go up on the ramp real quick on them.
It is a heavy sled that they're running with now on these 7,200-pound modified tractors.
And this tractor it has been around for a number of years. This tractor is probably 8 or 9 years old. They changed the motor setup in it. They changed the transmission in it some. But Troy's father drove this tractor originally.
We'll see his dad in a minute. But here is the fruit, Troy Washkow. That heavy sled is just so tough for an engine that size.
Well, one motor, and at one time that was as big and as good as you could get. But now there's twins in that class, and it is really a load for that kind of machine.
I think everybody who follows this sport knows Art Arfons, the Green Monster. The 2 GE turbines, 3,000 horsepower each. How about 6,000 horsepower? The pride of Akron, Ohio.
Art and Dusty, a father and daughter pulling team, and believe me, Dusty will not pass for a son. 3 turbines on it, actually a little turbine there behind. But watch Art Arfons build a fire.
Oh, yeah.
He got problems. He has really got problems. Got fire everywhere. He got a leak underneath the machine. He's got fire burning all over the tractor. They're going to get the extinguishers out there to him. And he has got a fuel leak.
Uh-oh.
Now, the young man there to his right is using a halon fire extinguisher. And a halon fire extinguisher will suck up inside of a turbine engine and will ignite itself. So that's something that they're going to have to be very, very cautious of, that does not ignite inside that motor.
Right.
If that does, it'll be a tremendous explosion.
Well, I think they're on top of it, Mike.
That's Randy Spregan. And Randy Spregan is engaged to Dusty Arfon.
Well, that's probably one time when Art was happy to see his son-in-law, huh?
Well, son-in-law to be.
To be. Here comes Art.
This should be a very interesting pull.
Yeah, it should be. And it makes a sound unlike any other in pulling. Wait till you hear the Green Monster. Art Arfons has got it ready to wail. One more check here.
Kim Brew, we talked about tire speed. And Art Arfon very possibly will have as much tire speed as anyone here tonight. This is his kind of surface, but the weight's going to come on him real fast. They're still looking for fire there in the back.
What's the smoke coming up, Mike? What is that?
Well, the motors are beginning to build up. They got to go to 40,000 RPMs, and that's just some raw fuel that's puking out of it.
Uh-oh.
Now they're going to ignite that raw fuel coming out of the motors. Both of these double-headed green monster is fired.
Oh, man. Here he comes. Listen to this. Listen to it.
Instant horsepower right off the line. That's one thing about these turbines. Here's a man that's going to do it. I don't think there's any stopping him. Look out. He's going for the goal. He's outside.
All
He's
right.
outside. A full pull. I didn't think it could be done. I did not think that this tractor could put the power to the ground enough to take it all the way to the end. We've only seen people get to 130 feet. Art Arfons goes out.
The smoke goes up. Light the cigar. The first round's on me. Art Arfons has a full pull.
You know, I don't think that fire worried that man at all.
Doesn't appear to. And for the monster and Art Arfons, full tilt. Full, 160 feet. Here's a picture and a half. This is the national champion. This is the Dirt Slinger, and that's a perfect name for one of these tractors. Dirt Slinger 2, Bill Leischner out of Weldon, Illinois, and he's got 3 full tilt Airy engines.
The Aries engines are there. They're alive. This young man's tough. If anyone could go out with Art Arfons and force a pull-off, it'd have to be Bill Leischner out of Weldon, Illinois.
He's got history on his side. There you see the butterflies, and when all 3 of those are open, you know it's time to boogie.
What's he going to do? Is he going to roll with it, or will he go on the start? I think he'll go wide open.
Not quite. What? And I'm telling you, those Aries have a sound all their own, don't they?
Ear-shattering sound. 3 of them thundering together. Bill, a great pull, ran it up to second place. Just couldn't get it out. The sled so heavy on him. He had all the ground speed he could possibly get right there off the starting line. He rolled with the sled surprisingly 25, 30 feet before he ever got on the motor.
Mike, he kind of slid with it right at the beginning. He didn't really dial it in, did he?
Didn't go on it real hard right at the starting line, but he still got good tire speed. Still got the power there, and he gets into it just a little bit down. There you see the butterflies that disappeared. He's wide open. He's on a rough ride, Ken Bruce. See how he's bouncing around up there. That's from where the track has rutted up as he goes down the track. A 150, 2 1/4 inches.
Bill Leischner, not up in Art Arfons' category, but certainly a good pull tonight. Well, here it is. This is the run that won it all. This is Art Arfons. The fire's out underneath, and the fire's in the belly of that. Watch it come down the track, Mike. It was just a superb pull, front to back.
Pretty much the impossible dream, the sled being as heavy as it was, but Art Arfon does everything right on this pull. I mean everything. He's got ground speed, he's got tire speed, and he's got enough horsepower to work it past that finish line. An outstanding pull.
Modified tractor champ tonight, the Green Monster, with that man behind the wheel, Art Arfons. Well, they're rolling out the relics, so you know what's coming up next. The Monsters. I'm not talking about Bela Lugosi or Lon Chaney Jr. I'm talking about the monster trucks. The modern-day outlaw, Big Toe, Gator, Bigfoot. They're all coming up next, so don't go away. We'll be right back from St. Louis. This show, you can't have monster trucks without having junk, right?
Well, basically, that's true. The cars that they'll crush tonight, and these monster trucks have probably literally crushed thousands of cars over the years, and they'll go through 12 to 24 a weekend at an event like this. And the cars that you see here tonight, and the cars that are used from time to time, come from mostly a local salvage yard, and they're cars that have been left beside the road, and maybe someone didn't come back to claim them, or they've been picked up and pulled in for bad parking violations, and end up being stars of the show.
Right. Of course, if you miss a payment, it's liable to happen too, right?
Well, it could happen. Also, a lot of times the rent cars end up in here.
We're just having a good old time here tailgating. Mike, the crushing is about to begin. I'm going to go back to where I work from. Why don't you stay here, because I know you have something pressing.
I'm going to stay close by. I like it down here.
We're back in St. Louis for the Battle of the Monster Trucks. And first out of the chute tonight will be the modern-day outlaw, Buster Guffey behind the wheel.
Out of Arkansas, and watch Buster Guffey as he gets onto it. High in the air!
Oh, man!
all the way off on the side. I thought for a moment he was in a little bit of trouble as he got up in the air, and Ken Brew, there's parts hanging down underneath that truck.
Yeah, I see it.
He is.
Looks like Buster busted his guppy there. They're going to have to go there and check him out. But you're right. I thought he was Tip City there for a minute.
Watch him on the backup get up. Buster's going to go for it in reverse. High flying action.
Look at this.
That's the luggage, ex-luggage rack off the top of one of them.
There goes about a $1,300 option. Here he comes backwards now.
Little S10 right up on top of it. Buster showing his step tonight.
Gets a nice hand from the crowd, too. The modern-day outlaw, Griffinville, Arkansas.
I think Buster's going to go for one more shot at it. He wants the crowd up on their feet, yelling and screaming, and when he does that, we could see that modern-day outlaw stand right straight up in the air and take notice.
Here we go.
Here he goes. Watch out. Oh! In the air. About decided, Ken Brew, that those parts that look like they're hanging off of his step that he's got on the other side enables him to get in and out of this modern-day outlaw.
Total destruction on the mind of Buster Guppy tonight. Mike mentioned that's a Chevy S10, right?
Ken, this has got to be the ultimate in commuter vehicles.
Yeah, give me one of those on the interstate at rush hour. Well, here comes Buster, and he seemed to be in trouble right here.
Watch it go hard to the left when it lands. One tire lands before the other, pulls it off to the side. And one thing you have to do when you get in this situation, you've got to stay on the gas. Stay on the gas, change the momentum from a sideward motion to a forward motion, and get you out of a jam.
All right, next up now is the Big Toe, of course, followed by four little ones. Ray Pekowski from St. Louis in a 79 Ford.
Wrecker. Supercharged Ford motor.
Yeah.
This isn't a pickup truck. This is actually a wrecker truck. We get a side shot of it. There's the big rubber on it, and it has a wrecker body on the back of it. The Big Toe. 17,000 pounds of tow truck.
Kind of a multi-purpose vehicle.
Watch him. Hits the cars on the fly. Whoa! Way up in the air.
Yes.
Completely sideways and lands as tough as you can get.
Man. He probably took a pretty good jolt just coming down like that, Mike.
Well, it did, and it landed sideways. It kind of crossed up every which way you look, you're in a little bit of trouble.
You're going back off now, I think, and straighten up.
Ray came, he lived in North St. Louis, came here to put on a show for the hometown crowd, and he's done that. Straightens up that rear steering. Of course, the front and rear steering working independently of each other. Rear steering through a switch, usually mounted somewhere within the easy reach of the driver. Lets them operate those rear tires.
Well, the cars are about in the same condition as when he came out, just maybe a little flatter. Good thing you didn't stay on the tailgate of that thing, Mike, or you would have been in tough shape right now.
Well, there's a lot of people that wished I had have stayed on the tailgate.
No, there's nobody sitting up here now. Here he comes again.
Gonna hit him on the run. Maybe not quite as hard as he did the first time.
Big Toe.
Right at the last minute, he flies up in the air.
He came down sideways again.
This truck built right. Planetaries on all four corners, front and rear steering. Probably needs a little more shock to it. And he's busted a drive shaft out of the front of it. You can see the front yoke flopping around in the drive shaft of the front axle. So he snapped the front drive shaft when he hit the cars, and that's...
Oh, good shot of that there. Look at that.
What it happens, it compresses those big shocks right up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. When those extend, they extended too far, and it pulled the drive shaft out of the yoke. Didn't actually break anything, but it just disconnected the front drive shaft.
Crowd gives him a nice hand. We're going to look at the last pop, Mike, and maybe this is where it broke.
I'm sure it is. The front end compresses, and when it springs back out, it jerks the yoke away from the drive shaft. High in the air, and watch it land. This is where it's all going to take place. Right there, the landing jerked the yoke out of the drive shaft.
Kind of a cruel yoke tonight for Big Toe. Here it is, the People's Choice. This is Bigfoot. Andy Brass behind the wheel tonight. You know the details. It's an 88 Ford, 429 under the hood. And we have really an expert witness here tonight with us, Mike, for some expert commentary. Rick Hoosier, who drives Bigfoot on occasion. Today he's with us up here in the broadcast booth.
Hi, Rick. Lines up and goes for it right now.
Whoa, man!
Rich, what happened when you line up for the cars? What's going through your mind?
Well, the main thing, Mike, is to make sure you get lined up straight on the cars, especially in a smaller arena like this. You want to make sure you hit them straight so you can land straight. When you do that, you make a lot better show, and you can get up in the air a little bit higher, and it really looks good. Andy's doing an excellent job so far.
When it lands, the compression, the jolt that the body takes, is it as violent on the inside as it looks like?
Yes, it is. We wear all sorts of safety equipment, from kidney belts to neck braces, our helmets. Even when we hang out the window like a couple of us do, we have to wear a little eye protection in case some of the pieces of the cars come flying up. Now, when Andy's here, he's come back the other way where the other guys haven't come on, so he should be able to get good air in this shot right here.
Now, good air meaning that the cars are straight up and down, and when it hits it, it's going to put the truck right up in the air.
Right. When you come out second, third, even fourth after a couple other monster trucks, they're pretty well flattened out. You need to hit them a little bit harder to get that truck up in the air.
Let's see what happens.
Whoa! Andy Brass with a superb run in Bigfoot. Now, Rich, I wanted to ask you, you're so high up. What kind of problem does that pose? Because it's not like you're driving a modified truck or even a tractor. You sit so high. Is that kind of a little disconcerting?
Yeah, your perspective up there is different because you're not sure exactly on your angle. So you really have to, of course, practice makes perfect. And when you're up there, of course, there's Bob Chandler looking on, making sure to see how Andy's doing. He's doing a great job.
Rich, who is Bob Chandler? We hear his name so often. Who is he?
Bob Chandler is the original man that invented all this and started all this monster truck craze. I've been working for him for 10 years and haven't worked for a better man.
Had a great idea, too, boy, that
Yes,
a lot of people have copied. We're watching Bigfoot. Andy Brass behind the wheel. Again, we have Rick Hoosier, another of the Bigfoot drivers up here from our broadcast booth to give us kind of like an inside story as to what it's all about.
Andy might be getting a little run at this one here. I think he wants to incite the crowd a little bit.
Let's see if he can fly the distance. Look at that!
Yeah! Oh, man!
Rich, the truck, when you get on the throttle and you run hard at the cars, at some point you have to back out of the throttle. Do you back out before you land or as you come down?
It depends a lot of times on the cars, the situation in the cars. You always want to stay in the throttle so you keep your front end up in the air. If you let off before your back tires hit, you're going to end up in a nosedive and possibly some damage to the truck. And maybe when you hit, you're not going to bounce off straight.
Now, you said practice makes perfect. You can't practice this anywhere, can you?
We do on occasion sometimes, but every show you do, it's always different.
So in other words, that's where the practice is, kind of like on-the-job training. I got it.
Right, yeah, he's practicing right now. It's kind of like a doctor. He's still practicing.
How long's Andy been driving the truck?
Andy started last summer, and he's a natural. He just come into it, and he seems to be doing real good. He's not afraid of the truck. He just gets out there and does a good job at it.
Should you be afraid of the truck or just respect what the truck can do?
Respectful of the truck because they're put together real well. Roy Hoosier, my brother, and Bob Powell Freeman are the two that build these trucks and keep them maintenance. Yeah, from that shot right there, you can see how well they can hold together.
You know, the other thing about Bigfoot is the kids really love it. It's almost like it's I don't know, like it's alive, you know? I mean, have you noticed that, how the kids kind of gravitate toward it?
Right. You can tell by this applause here. Everybody loves Bigfoot, especially the kids. Yeah, they think it's really a person. And when they come up and they get your autograph, they kind of think they're getting it from Bigfoot, not from the driver.
Andy Brass, the driver tonight of Bigfoot. Again, our on-the-spot eyewitness expert commentary from Rich Hoosier. I'm going to show you a replay, I think, of what's it like inside.
Let's watch him as he goes up. Now, Rich, this is the easy part. There's where the real shock comes in. Is that right?
Right. When you come down and land like that, your body takes a tremendous amount of force when it lands. And you got to watch what you're doing and accelerate as you come off, which helps a lot on a smooth landing.
Here, and we had a lot of good competition.
I thought it was great. I thought it was some of the best pulling we've seen, some of the best track conditions, and truly exciting.
And what a great way to end with the Munsters. Ford and Busch present the U.S. Hot Rod Truck and Tractor Pull Championship Series, featuring the Battle of the Monster Trucks. This telecast has been brought to you by Busch Beer, the beer with a taste as smooth as its name. Now for Mike Galloway, this is Ken Brew.